All right, we are on. Everyone, welcome to our all member meeting today, and we are honored to have a few medical students joining us from Gaza. We have Narmeen Ziad and Tariq Abdel Jawad. Both of them are medical students from Al Azhar University. I think Dr. Hiba Uthman is also, oh, here she is. Yes. Salam Hiba is joining us from Boston. Dr. Hiba Uthman is a palliative care attending. She works at Dana-Farber Hospital, and she is also formidable figure in philanthropy, especially in Lebanon, and a dear friend. And maybe Hiba, you can talk to us about the program, and then Narmeen and Tariq can tell us about their experience as medical students in Gaza right now.
Certainly. Thank you. And thanks for inviting the students to share their experience. So my name is Hiba Osman. I actually serve as the chair of the faculty committee in Gaza Educate Medics. If you're not familiar with that, that's a program through PalMed Academy, which is the Palestinian Medical Association in Europe. So they have 8 branches, and the one that's in London is the Academy branch that focuses on education. And before the genocide, what they focused on was continuing medical education for healthcare workers. But since then, the president and chair, Mahmoud Lubani, who's a cardiothoracic surgeon in Hull, actually had the vision of starting this program called GEM. So Gaza Educate Medics works with both medical schools. There are 2 medical schools in Gaza, Islamiyya and Al-Azhar. And between the 2 of them, there are about 2,500 medical students whose education basically stopped October 2023. And you'll hear more from the students about how that impacted them. And I think, Tariq and Nermeen, it would be great if you could share how that impacted you when you speak. But this project aimed to bring medical students back to their education despite everything that's going on. You know that both medical schools were decimated. They also, like many of us, had uh, online like a Moodle network of lectures, recorded lectures and stuff from COVID, but they bombed their servers. So the group at PalMed Academy worked with a programmer from South Africa who developed an online learning platform for GEM. It works with slow internet. So he developed it with knowing the limitations in Gaza. And so it works with slow internet. Students can work offline, and then when they go online, everything gets uploaded. It was like that. And the group works with the leadership of the 2 universities. So we're not trying to take over medical education. We're not trying to teach them how to teach. We're trying to support the actually brilliant leadership of both medical schools in delivering education. So now we have this online platform based in South Africa. All the material essentially has been uploaded, so they have recorded lectures, and then we do online interactive teaching as well. So I'm chair of the faculty committee. I can drop a note in the chat
Hello.
if anybody's
I'm
interested.
good. couldn't find your.
Can you mute, please?
Yes.
I'm gonna mute everyone, Hiba, and then unmute yourself, please.
Help.
Thank you. So I lost my train of thought. So I'm chair of the faculty committee. There are other committees as well. There's a social media, there's a fundraising committee. So the plan, we have a lot of faculty volunteers from all over. So South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, the US.
You guys have tournaments?
And
you should join her right there.
Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing.
And in addition to the faculty committees, there's a social media committee, there's a fundraising committee, there's a mentorship committee, there's a student engagement committee, which Tariq can tell you more about. And so if you're interested in joining any of these, you can go to the PalMed Academy website to join. If you are specifically interested in joining the faculty committee, I will drop a link to that form as well if you want to register. So we've been at this. This project was launched last June, so we've been at this for about a year. The 6-year students, a bunch of them graduated. We graduated 200 plus students. Some of the students who are outside of GAZA, so they're about 20% of the students are outside of GAZA, have been able to connect. We've been able to connect them to do their clinicals in Pakistan, South Africa. A group went to Oslo, Norway, Turkey. So people are doing their clinicals outside, and then the people inside GAZA are doing their clinicals at the remaining functioning hospitals. And the fundraising is basically to support the students so they can continue their education, and also the local faculty who are engaged in teaching. I'm going to stop here because I think it's more important to hear from the students than to hear from me, but I will drop those links in the chat for you.
Thank you so much, Hiba. Everyone is asking about the link, so they're waiting for it. Please, everyone, mute yourselves for this portion of the meeting because we need to hear from the students. Thank you so much. Yalla, Narmeen. Unmute yourself.
Hi. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. In the beginning, I wanted to introduce myself. I'm Yarmeen Ziad Abu Mustafa. I'm 21 years old. I'm a medical student. Are my voice clear?
Yes, it's very clear.
Okay, sounds good. I'm a medical student in 3rd year in Al-Azhar University in Gaza. In this event, I wanted to tell you all what it means to learn medicine under the genocide and what it means to work as a doctor under lots of lack of capabilities and in the middle of dangerous. In 2021, I finished my secondary school and I got 98.9% in scientific method. So my dream since my childhood is to become a humanitarian doctor, and I felt so happy that I achieved a high percent in scientific method, so I can register to medical school. But unfortunately, I couldn't find any scholarship to study in medical school, and then registered in Al-Azhar University. And started my study, and my family helped me despite all the challenges to achieve my dream. Then in 2023, in October 7th, the war came and our life changed completely from a life of suffering to from a life of safety, to a life of suffering and fear. Almost I was displaced 8 times with my family from one place to another, searching for safety. But unfortunately, there is no safe place was in Gaza during the war. We lived in tents under the high temperature in some times and under the cold in another time. We lived in lack of hygiene and the spread of epidemics and famines. This was told from us, our loved ones, our friends, and some of my family members without any mercy. I was volunteering in this war since of it in the medical points in the shelter centers, and now I currently volunteering in the European Gaza Hospital since May 2024. When the universities and hospitals was destroyed, I felt my dreams almost disappeared completely. But Alhamdulillah, when I heard about the electronically learning, I registered to complete my study with Al Azhar on the electronic method despite all the challenges, and I was walking for long distances to be able to connect the internet to download my lectures and do my exams. Also, all my colleagues here in Gaza did the same thing and still do this until this moment because of the hard situation. And during my volunteering, I saw lots of hard scenes. There's no mind could comprehend them. There is 3 stories. I will tell you all about them shortly. I saw and lived them during my work as a volunteer doctor in this war. The first one, when I was working in the medical point in the shelter center, we were besieged with the occupation vehicles for almost 2 weeks. And unfortunately, a randomly pumping occurred in the medical point that I was working in it. I was standing in the middle of it and treating the patient who injured from the shrapnels and from the pumping occurred around us. I couldn't remember what happened for me, just I recognized myself on the ground and just feel with the smell of the gunfire powder in my nose and in my throat. And after some few minutes, I found myself out of the place under the light and lots of people around me. Just some few shrapnels. I found them in my clothes, but alhamdulillah, they didn't injure me and I was survived in miracle. The second story, I saw and lived it a lot in this war. When we was besieged in the shelter centers, lots of people injured because of the pumping occurred around us, and lots of people asked me to help them and to save their lives. But unfortunately, I couldn't just do the first aid and stop external bleeding and call the ambulance, but they couldn't come to our area because the lots of dangers around us. And I saw in the first time in my life people when they take the last breaths in this life, and I felt so collapsed because this is the first experience for me in my medical field, and I enrolling this field to help patient and save this life, not to feel with helpless and look of them without do anything. But unfortunately, the situation forced me to see this. The last and third story, I dealt with it in this war when I was displaced in Mawasi Khan Yunis. A huge bombing occurred around us, and the stones and shrapnels arrived to our tents. Just I heard there is mom calling to save her little daughter. I go rashly out of my tents to see the situation. I noticed the girl have a heavy bleeding from her head, but I couldn't imagine there's a a huge injury happened for her, and told the daughter from her mom to try help her and ask the people around me to call the ambulance or any transport to help this girl arrive at the hospital as soon as. When I hold this girl, I started to take vital signs and to check the pulse rate for it, and my left hand still under her head. Just a few seconds, and when I'm looking to her head, I noticed there was her little brain on my hand. I was thinking to start CPR without saw the scenes and without saw her brain, but unfortunately I stopped and feel so shocked, and I cannot forget the blood of this girl that was on my clothes and on my hand. And also, this is the first time I saw a little girl lost her life between my hands, and this is there is no mind can imagine it or comprehend it. But alhamdulillah, I'm trying to complete my volunteering work despite everything, and coming to the European GAZA hospital to complete my volunteering work and to be able to connect good internet in the hospital to download my lecture by quickly and to do my exams. Sorry for talking along, and in conclusion, I wanted to read two messages to the world. The first one is to all medical students and health workers in the world. The medical students here in Gaza need lots of support and lots of help to be able to complete their study in suitable environments and in safe environments, and they need lots of help to be able to pay their fees by easily, because as you know, every student here in Gaza in the most need for pet from fees to feed themselves and their family, especially after this war and these conditions. The second and the last message I have is to everyone have a dream and face it challenging. Don't give up and pursue to your dreams, because one day you will achieve your dream despite all the challenges and despite the all hard conditions you will live in it. Be yourself, and inshallah one day you will be proud of yourself and you will be able to help your people. Just thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Narmeen. We are proud of you.
Narmeen.
Thank you for joining us. We are proud of
Thank
you.
you.
We are proud of your colleagues. We are proud of the people of Gaza.
Thank you.
With that we all let you down and we allowed this to happen to you, but we're trying to help as much as we can. We have a lot of questions for you. We're gonna come back for you and ask you more questions, but I think Tariq has to leave soon. So let's talk to your
Okay.
colleague Tariq
Sounds
now,
good.
if he's available. Tariq, go ahead, please. Welcome to Doctors Against Genocide webinar. It is an honor to have you and your colleagues, and I think there is no better person in the world that we can host here more than the medical students from Gaza. أهلا وسهلا طارق.
شكرا دكتور. السلام
ما
عليكم. Hello
تقلقوش.
everyone.
What does ما تقلقوش means?
Yeah.
ما تقلقش.
Do not worry that much or something like that.
أهلا
Yeah.
وسهلا طارق. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nadal. Firstly, I would like to extend my gratitude for inviting me to this important webinar. I see a lot of doctors and healthcare workers who are really interested in supporting the healthcare field, especially medical education for medical students of Gaza. Thank you so much, Dr. Nadal, Dr. Karam, and also Dr. Hiba Osman for inviting me to speak at this webinar and for the lovely introduction about our project and about the situation in general at the beginning of the webinar. So my name is Tariq Abdel Jawad. I'm a fifth-year medical student at Al-Azhar University in Gaza. I'm currently externally displaced outside of Gaza. I've left Gaza about 13 months ago. And I've just arrived in the UK about 2 months ago, trying to complete some of my rotations. So I was a fifth-year medical student just 6 weeks into my pediatrics rotation at the beginning of my fifth year in Gaza before the war began, or the genocide began. And from the first 15 minutes of everything on October the 7th, we left our house until now, so we haven't gone back yet. And So we've been in this place from day one, and I lived Gaza about 3 months into the war to Egypt, and from Egypt I left to Europe. And my experience, I would summarize it as horrific and something that's in not even fiction can describe. So from the first week of war, I started volunteering at the emergency department at Al-Aqsa Hospital in the middle area of Gaza. And from my first night shift, I calculated and counted and did the math of how many people had died from that bombing at that night. And I've done the math by just counting how many brains, ears, eyes I have in a very small plastic bag. So it was from the very first night shift of mine that I had children body parts between my hands. And that was only the side of the people who are coming as body parts. Nevertheless, the other areas of the department that I'm going to talk about also briefly now. So I was mainly volunteering in the yellow and red area of triaging. Most of you are doctors, I assume, so you understand this. So the yellow and red areas of the emergency department are where we handle the most challenging kinds of cases. And the red area is the resuscitation unit. It's where I mostly worked. And I was the only medical student at that department at the beginning, because in the first 2 or 3 months of the war, no students were allowed in that room. However, more and more students started coming into role in these critical areas and critical parts of the emergency department after the war continued to happen for too long. And I actually, as a student, it's not actually ethical to be in these places and to be accountable for sometimes I handled like about 5 cases, 5 injured people at the same time. In the first week, also, I was managing one of my professors. One of my professors in medical school, he came with his family, all of them injured. His skull was wide open. And at that day, the Al-Ahli hospital in Gaza was bombed at the night that I received my professor. And I had received a call from my father while I was suturing my professor's skull. I received a call from my father that Al-Ahli hospital was bombed and they are threatening to bomb Al-Aqsa hospital at the same time. And that was only about, I think it was 17th of October night. So it was like late during the night of the 16th of October. So it was like the very first beginning, and they're starting to bomb hospitals. And so there was a threat to bomb the hospital. Many people have fled the hospital. However, we've stayed with the patients. And I came back to the place where we were displaced at about like 4 a.m. in the morning. And I stayed there for the night and I went back there at 8 a.m. Also, people were terrified. Many doctors have left because of the threat. And about a week after that, they bombed a house just close to the hospital, and shrapnels were all over the hospital. And many people had been injured because of that bombing. And that was the first bombing of the 8 bombings of that hospital, Al-Aqsa Hospital, which is the least hospital that was bombed and has been bombed during the genocide. 4 of these times were burning people alive inside the hospital. And this was the least hospital that was bombed during the genocide. The other 35 hospitals and primary care centers that we have in Gaza, all of them also have been bombed. And about like three main hospitals now are operating partially functioning. And I've also amputated diabetic foot. So you can imagine that amputating a diabetic foot requires an operation room and a surgery room and a vascular surgeon, of course. However, that night, the vascular surgeon was not even available. There was only one vascular surgeon available, and he was busy in the operation room, and we had to amputate on the floor of the emergency department. And the thing that I could do is to call him. He picked up the phone. One of the nurses just handed the phone to him, and he told me just what to do. And he was not going to be available until the next morning. So I had to do the first amputation alone at the night. And in the morning, he observed me. He supervised me while I was amputating the other amputation in the morning. These are just, I cannot say the simplest of the experiences, but they are horrific. However, they are the simplest of the horrific scenes that we have witnessed. The thing that strikes me all the time, actually, is that 50% from what we received are literally children and women. And I have a niece, so whenever I see a child, I imagine what if my niece is in that situation. So yeah, that was as a student working in the emergency department. I worked there for 3 months, collectively 800 working hours. I worked there for 48-hour and 72-hour night shifts and working shifts. I left January 2024 to Egypt. And of course, regarding the studies of medical students, they have stopped immediately from the first day. And they have continued to be stopped and interrupted until June 2024, which is something I'm going to talk about in a minute. So access universities have been bombed in Gaza. Our university, our medical campus of Al-Azhar University was bombed. The medical campus of Islamic University was also bombed and was used as a military base. The hospital, the teaching hospital of Islamic University was also completely bombed. Our house was bombed as well. So this is why my family in Gaza cannot go back now to it. So they will still be displaced even after the ceasefire. And yeah, the education has been bombed, and everything was like education-wise, it was not possible at all. It's not possible. You cannot imagine how horrific the situation is from day one. People running the streets. We literally ran in the streets. Me, my mother, my father, my brother, with 2 plastic bags only. That was all what we had. So I took my laptop that day, and just like other 2 plastic bags with our stuff. And this is just one example of a family in Gaza. So every other family was at the same situation, either at the same situation or worse than us. And so education was not an option. However, we were actually, while we were working at the emergency department, but because this is an example of how resilient the healthcare workers are, I don't want to seem just like whiny or something, like the horrific scenes and so on. There is a resilience in these people. They are the most impressive people that you can ever meet in your life. The healthcare workers. I have lost about 5 colleagues of mine from the same shift that I was working in the emergency department. 5 of them were bombed and killed. 3 of them with their whole families. About 2 of them were bombed in the ambulance transferring patient to another hospital, which is just about 20-minute ride going there and going back to our hospital. But whenever an ambulance leaves the hospital during the night, it's 99% that it's gonna be bombed. And so yeah, this is about the experience in the hospital. And regarding when I left Egypt, we started doing some meetings in order to establish some international collaborations to find a solution for the students who are at least outside of Gaza right now. Because as Dr. Hiba said, we have about 358 medical students from Gaza who are displaced outside of Gaza. And these students, they all need clinical rotations and placements. And the concept is that in Egypt, most of them were in Egypt, and Egypt has refused to allocate any medical student from Gaza for electives. They have refused only until like 4 months ago. They accepted about 6 in the main medical school for them, but the majority of them were in Egypt at the beginning, and Egypt has refused multiple times. The universities, I mean, and yeah, and so there were like international collaborations have started doing some meetings, connecting doctors from the UK, the US, Qatar, South Africa, Pakistan, Turkey. Turkey is the first thing that worked out, and many other countries. So the concept is to allocate the students as visiting students, or at least as like doing just clinical placements, because the deans of both medical schools, they have accepted if any student does a clinical rotation that he is required to do by his clinical year. If he gets a letter that he's done this rotation, the deans will accept that this rotation has been done clinically, so you can undertake the theory exam online if you are outside Gaza. So this concept actually made it much easier. However, the challenge was how to allocate the students and where to put them. So all these international collaborations had to be like put under an umbrella. And this umbrella was Balmed Academy in the shape of the GEM scheme, Gaza Educate Medics scheme. I lead the student engagement committee in this scheme. And we have now about like 60 something students in South Africa. We had 10 students who went to Norway for an exchange semester, and now they are in Pretoria in South Africa as well. And we have about 35 in Turkey. The majority of them have graduated about a month ago. And we have also in Pakistan 175 students in Pakistan, and Pakistan is going to take about 150 students more in the beginning of the next academic year. And also we have in Egypt, about 6 in Egypt in Ain Shams University, but they have accepted to receive them a long time after we've allocated everybody else. And also we have Malaysia is gonna take more students in the next academic year because we have currently many of the students who are outside Gaza are also in third year. So in third year is not a clinical year. So they are going to be in their clinical year next academic year, which is starting not that long from now. And Malaysia and Indonesia, they are ready also to receive some of these students who are going to need clinical rotations in the next academic year. So these efforts are moderated, as Dr. Hiba said, moderated by the by Biomed Academy and the GEM scheme, and of course by the supervision and moderation of both deans of medical schools, because everything needs to go through them in order to get our certificates. For me personally, because Dr. Hiba, I think, told me to speak of my personal experience. For me personally, when I was in Egypt, I spent about 8 months there. When I was in Egypt, I started just emailing every university, every country in the world, just trying to secure a placement for myself or just to continue my degree. And was most of the time it wasn't that successful. After I left Egypt, I went to a country in Europe as well, and then I just arrived in the UK about 2 months ago. And currently I'm doing some observerships. It's not ideal to be doing observerships. However, my dean has accepted if I do an observership and the things I do during the observership match what we do as medical students in clinical rotation, history taking his physical examination. He will accept these observerships, and he will he will allow me to undertake my online exams next June, inshallah. So by next June, I will graduate from my 5th year. I'm supposed to be graduating from my final year in 3 months' time or 4 months' time. However, the huge interruption made me like be late for it by a year. It's nothing that bad actually. It's not something to speak of in the middle of all these horrific things, but this is just an explanation why I'm still in 5th year. And this is what we're doing. We're trying just to revive and resurrect the medical education of Gaza. We're just trying to graduate and become doctors. And my end goal, of course, is to help rebuild Gaza, especially the healthcare sector. And I'm planning also to get into the foundation training here in the UK. I'm planning to take the MRCS exams to get to be GMC certified here. So I will take my MRCS exam number part 1 by the mid 2026. Apply for the foundation training by September 2026. Get into foundation training hopefully, because it's really competitive, but hopefully I will just go for it. So by 2027, the goal is that I would be in my first foundation training here in the UK. And hopefully I can get into surgery specialty, because I'm aspiring to become a cardiovascular surgeon or a vascular surgeon. I'm planning to doing also alongside it cardiac surgery fellowships. I've done upper GI surgery here. I've done obs and gyn here also rotation, and tomorrow I'm starting my psychiatry rotation. I've also represented, this is something just to end well. Since my first year in medical school, I started also doing projects and co-organizing and organizing projects for the medical students in medical education, research exchange. So until now, I have about more than 35 projects that I have organized over the past 5 years. I have targeted over 1,000 medical students from all over Palestine, not only from Gaza, who have participated in my projects. I have held over 15 or 16 positions in international organizations over the past 5 years. So this is collectively brings me to more than 5,000 working hours in voluntary work in medical education research for me until now. I'm also applying for my postgraduate master's at the moment. I have an interview next Tuesday, so fingers crossed that I could get through this interview. It's a master's in surgery as well. And hopefully it will work out. So yeah, that's it actually. And thank you so much. If you have any questions, because I need to go maybe, so I can stay for another 5 minutes. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Thank you so much for giving me the space to talk.
Thank you so much, Tariq. And I think we have a question for Nardine, so I'll probably put her back in. Nardine?
Yes,
Dr.
I'm here.
Jhur? So, Nardine, we have noticed that you are in the dark. And can you tell us your living situation right now? I do not want to be intrusive, but I cannot help but be concerned for how our people are living in Palestine. And maybe you can just tell us how things are for you right now in Gaza, and where in Gaza are you?
Yeah. Now I live in Eastern Khan Yunis in the south of Gaza. Alhamdulillah, before a few months, we returned to our home near European Gaza Hospital, not long distance between me and between the hospital. Alhamdulillah, my home is still standing, but no windows, no doors. We repaid the doors and put plastic and some fabrics on the windows uh, to protect us from the cold and from the other conditions of the weather. But unfortunately, the cold is still. Other people around me live in tents under lots of cold actually. Uh, I don't know what I should say about the condition that we live now in. It's under uh, this cold and under lack of lots of things.
Yeah, Narmeen was telling me how cold she is standing there talking to us right now, and there is no source of heat. And she was also telling me that her she charged her phone for this Zoom meeting, and her charge is running very quickly. And what are you now at 30%, Narmeen?
Yeah.
I guessed. So thank you, Habibti. We really appreciate you putting the time and the effort to join us from
You're welcome.
Gaza. Um,
Um,
where in Gaza are you?
I'm in Eastern Khan Yunis in the south of Gaza.
Okay. And
I'm so glad to be in this event and so grateful, Wallah, to hosting me and see all these people. I'm honored to see you all and thank you so much because you are hearing me in the end. And inshallah, hope we can achieve our dreams to complete this life and help our people and be able to meet all these kind people one day, inshallah.
thank you, Narmeen. We are really hoping to do a program where, we match doctors and medical students with doctors and medical students in Gaza as support, as backup. And, if anyone who is able to bring students to finish their rotations or work on projects that help them finish the requirements and contribute in terms of research and in terms of building their resume and building their career. We are really trying to build a platform for that. And Dr. Hiba has please, Hiba.
Thank you, Karame, and thank you both Nermeen and Tariq. And as everybody on this call can see, these amazing colleagues, future colleagues, and physicians are the future leaders of the healthcare system in Gaza. And I don't think I need to spell it out, but if you can see all they've achieved under incredible circumstances with losses of colleagues and friends and family and home. And they're still striving. And I mean, both Tariq has shared a little bit of what he's been doing and what he's planning to achieve. Nermeen has been very vocal. She has published, she gives talks. And they're just an example of the amazing resilience of our medical students, which should give us hope that we will be able to rebuild the healthcare system, and people like Nermeen and Tariq will do amazing things. I I want to just add, Nermeen is talking about the electricity and charging her phone and getting internet access and things like that. You can imagine with each displacement that students have to settle back in, find and create a home and a place to sleep, and figure out where to eat, and figure out where to charge their phones, and figure out where to get internet access. So even now, with the so-called ceasefire that's not a ceasefire, people are getting back to the areas where they used to live, but in terms of function and on the medical education front, we're having to pause and wait for them to settle and figure out ways of how to access. I'll give you one example. Early on, when we were doing the teaching, we were scheduling teaching to be in the morning because we felt it was more safe, so that by dark, students were back home. A lot of them have to take transportation and go long distances to access internet. And I was shocked to learn that giving classes before 11 o'clock in the morning made it very difficult for people to access internet because they have to wait for the sun to come up to charge the solar panels so that they can get electricity to get access to internet. So it's all of these things that we cannot even imagine that they're dealing with on top of the medical education and just basic survival.
Thank you so much, Hiba. So for us, this is the start of a journey of support, inshallah, where we will be on your side. And so happy that Hiba's with us because she has been instrumental in these efforts. Inshallah, min ammirha, we will rebuild it together.
Inshallah.
Tariq, you have a question or you have a comment? Please go ahead.
Yeah, just a comment because Dr. Hiba mentioned the ceasefire. Actually, my classmate in my class, literally the class of 2019 to 2025 of Al Azhar University, Gaza, she was shot after the ceasefire took place in front of the European General Hospital. She was holding her box and she has volunteered in the hospital for a year. And she stayed in the ICU for 3 days and she died of her injuries about a week ago. So this is just a point of how a ceasefire is in Gaza. Yeah, that's just a comment I wanted to mention.
Shukra, thank you, Tariq. We know this genocide is ongoing. We know that it has been ongoing even before October of 23. We know that our people are constantly under attack and their existence and their well-being is under threat every single day. As you probably know, many of us are Palestinians. We have family in Palestine, so we have lived this experience. We know that attention on Gaza has been very strong. Unfortunately, for the wrong reasons, because the attention should have been on Palestine as a whole from decades ago, because the violation of human rights and the atrocities that are committed against the Palestinian people have not just started. They have been ongoing. Our parents, our grandparents have experienced that, and we continue to thrive and we continue to resist, and we continue to exist, and we continue to create opportunities for our students to become amazing doctors, amazing nurses, amazing engineers. I'm so proud of you, Narmeen. I'm so proud of Tariq. And
Thank you.
I really cannot tell you how happy that we are to have you with us today. And I think you can stay, Narmeen, with us. We can stay, Hiba, but we will open the discussion. We will stop the recording now.
Okay.
We'll stop the streaming and not the recording, so that